Yes, hello again and welcome back to your favourite classic dirt bike TV channel. I'm glad that you could join me here once again as we take a look at more vintage motorcycle iron, and this time round we're going to take a quick tour around Trevor Calderwood's lovely 1983 500TC Husqvarna Special. Now, this machine is not an original bike from 1983, so there's absolutely no need to contact me and say that it has all the wrong parts fitted onto it, because this is of course a custom made 500 Special, so it's not likely to be the same as the original bike. But to begin with, the frame is a BZS custom made chassis, made of course by BZS Racing Parts in the Netherlands, who specialise in building many of these different types of Husqvarna frames. Now, Trevor told me that the main reason for using one of these BZS racing frames is that it can accommodate a bigger Kian flat slide carburetor, and of course the frame is also made slightly narrower than the original to improve the handling of the bike. But these BZS chassis are very top quality and constructed from chrome moly tubing and TIG welded. Now, as you'd expect, the bike also has many bespoke alloy parts fitted to it, starting with these CNC machined alloy triple clamps and bar risers that were made in Germany. Now, as you can see, these are top quality and a definite upgrade to the Husqvarna originals. Now, once again, the bike's front forks are not your Husqvarna units, but are actually a pair of Marzocchi Magnums that were taken from a much more modern motocrosser. Now, these are very tough units and of course much stronger than the Husky originals, but of course because these are different forks, a brand new alloy brake anchor clamp had to be remanufactured to accommodate the replacement CNC machined front brake backplate torque arm. But again, it all fits together perfectly as you'd expect, and will make this particular 500 Husky perform much better on the racetrack. Now, in the rear suspension department of this custom made racer, a pair of top quality YSS piggyback shocks were chosen to control the back end of Trevor's bike. And again, these are top of the range items and perform really well on this type of twin shock bike, and of course they're all manufactured in West Sussex in the UK. Now, this big lump of a 500 four-stroke motor on Trevor's machine is basically your 6-speed single-cylinder Husky engine, and this motor, Trevor tells me, is basically just a stock unit with no special upgrades or trick parts fitted to it, other than of course the big Kian flat slide carburetor, which helps to improve the power on this big engine. But Trevor says he's already in the process of building a beefed up motor to fit into this BZS chassis, and it will be a much more powerful 540 lump when it's ready to be placed into this custom made frame. Now, once again, more CNC alloy custom made parts on Trevor's bike, with this rear alloy brake pedal and of course those heavy duty wide steel foot pegs, and these parts will replace the original steel brake pedal and of course the pair of skinny footrests that would have been fitted to the original Husqvarna bike back in the 1980s. But a very nice pair of quality items, that's for sure. Now, the rear brake backplate once again is an alloy CNC replacement for what would have been the original part fitted to these 83 bikes back in the day, but nevertheless another nice piece of engineering and this will also help shed a few precious grams from the overall weight of the bike and help to keep the all-up weight to a manageable size. Now, as you know, these big 500 four-bangers were a single cylinder motor but had a twin exhaust port cylinder head with these twin header pipes running down either side of the engine that eventually were mated to this pair of tailpipes at the rear. Now, as you'd expect, these again are not the original Husky items but are a custom made exhaust system that came direct from Germany. Now, you can only imagine the bark that comes out of those beauties when that big 500 motor gets fired up, but on the track, if you're following this bike and coming up behind it, there's absolutely no mistaking what bike is actually in front of you when you see these twin exhausts staring you in the face. But again, for these big four-strokers, there are plenty companies now supplying upgraded parts for these twin shockers, and companies like HVA Factory and of course BZS Racing Parts are a very good source of replacement spare parts for these big thumper bikes. But back in the day, even the original stock 500TC Husky bikes from that year were still a very good machine. That is, of course, if you liked your four-stroke thumpers, because these were a bit on the heavy side, and there was also a knack to getting them started up from cold. But once you get these big Huskies on the move, they certainly shed the weight very quickly. Now, as you can see, more replacement parts on Trevor's machine with an upgraded throttle gasser and a set of those unbreakable levers, but it all goes toward making this a custom built 500TC, and as you can gather, Trevor spared absolutely no expense when it came to fitting the best parts available to his new Husky race bike. Now, this bike, of course, is just one of the many machines in Trevor's collection, and just in the background there you can catch a glimpse of one of his other bikes, his old CZ vintage racer, of which Trevor again has a good collection of at his home in Northern Ireland. Although despite this big Husky engine's overall size, these are still very quick motors in terms of their reliability and power output, and if these engines are looked after properly, then these big 500TCs can seem to go on forever and ever, and can usually take any kind of abuse that the toughest of rider can throw at them. Now, in the past, I've seen top riders getting good results riding one of the original standard 500TCs, so this upgraded custom bike of Trevor's should have absolutely no problem putting him on the podium. Now, the American flag reference on the bike's number backgrounds is in relation to legendary racer Mark Brown, who rode an HVA version of this bike, and Trevor wanted his 500 to be a similar replica to that legendary rider's machine. But I have to say, original or not, this is still an awesome piece of kit with its tricked up replacement parts, although Trevor still kept the bike's original wheels intact, but this is still a work in progress type of race bike, and for me personally, I just can't wait to see it take to the track. So there you have it, another nice vintage classic, not original of course, but nonetheless certainly worth a few minutes to share with you here on my YouTube channel. So once again, thanks for your continuing support, and of course for taking the time to tune in to your #1 vintage iron show, Classic Dirt Bike TV.